applause for our special pre-lunch panel. I am super excited to have this conversation or just learn more about your journey and who you are as the man, the legend, the music superstar, you've inspired so many different people around the world, generations to come. So it's an honor for us to have you here. What you guys may not know that last year Nile Rodgers was the 2024 Crystal Award winner, which is one of the awards that's given out at the World Economic Forum. So please give a round of applause for that. It's a huge honor.
Thank you.
But what we want to know, and I'm going to pretend that I'm just like sitting at your feet, but I'm next to you. And you're just going to give me your journey, because I think what's important, and we've heard this throughout our day, storytelling and capturing the history and the journey of so many that come before us who can be a true inspiration. There are young people in the audience who may need to be inspired, but they don't know the exact journey. And I think in this culture of Instagram and TikTok, and they think this automatic success. Ha ha ha, as he laughs. But that's not the truth. So I'm going to start with you and say, in the beginning, give us who you are in that journey.
Certainly, it's the antithesis of automatic success. I was a musician since I was a child. I was a professional at 7. I did my first recording session on a Jewish traditional record, and my first gig was I played recorder on Lacha Dodi, and I got $1.25, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. I get to make money playing music. But the real journey, I would say, started with Sesame Street around 17, 18 years old. And I just got to zip through it because I had a huge amount of jobs. So I did Sesame Street. Sesame Street led to the Apollo Theater. The Apollo Theater led to Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross led to my band, Chic. And that's really where it took off. Chic, we were very, very fortunate in that our first single was a hit, cost $10 to make. And then the head of the record company thought that we had magical fairy dust that we could spread on anybody, this new thing called disco. So he asked us to do the Rolling Stones, and Bette Midler, we thought it was ridiculous because I wasn't going to play Keith Richards' guitar parts for him and say, do what I do. So instead we chose a group called Sister Sledge, who was relatively unknown. We imagined who they were, and this was incredible. We had no idea that Kathy Sledge was 15 going on 16. She was a virgin. She was ultra religious, and the first song we wrote for her is about having a one-night stand.
Oh my goodness!
Her mom was the manager and flipped out on us and was like, anyway. So we somehow talked them into it, got a huge record, but the big one on that was We Are Family, of course. But it was a perfect journey. Then we went from her directly to Diana Ross. Sorry about that. It's like, it's amazing. Water? No. It's something went down the wrong pipe. It sounds ridiculous because I have to, in order for me to give it to you chronologically, it's got to make sense. So Diana Ross, and then this horrible thing in America happened called Disco Sucks. And we wound up never getting a #1 record after that. Oh, and by the way, the opening song that you played for us is the only record in history in America to go #1 3 times.
Wow.
The same song. We were #1.
A round of applause for that, for sure.
Yeah, no, it was great. So we were #1. Then Barbara Streisand knocked us out of #1 with You Don't Bring Me Flowers. Then we knocked her out again and went back to #1. And then I don't know what came in, but then we knocked them back out. and we wound up being the number one record of 1978 and 1979, which was incredible. And then we wrote a song called Good Times, which people say was the sort of very unofficial beginning of hip hop because of our long breakdown, and the groove became the basis of Rapper's Delight. After that, I went on to do David Bowie, In Excess, Duran Duran, Madonna, the B-52s, and so many others, which took me, I mean, I had a huge amount of success. Let me just say that I've sold more than 750 million records, and yeah, pretty insane. Um, and I've just done two albums in a row with Beyonce, and I did Daft Punk, and I just finished a film with John Malkovich, and so life has been pretty grand.
It doesn't seem that way, though. These no-name people you've worked with are just, I don't get it. How are you even here?
So that was, pardon me, that was the musical part of my life. But the real interesting part of my life was the fact that my mom fell pregnant the first time she ever had sex, which was 13. So my mom was 14 years older than myself. She she basically she raised me to be, I hate to say it, one of the really good kids. So I was a nerdy I was a nice kid. Like, I never got into trouble in my life. I never did anything wrong, never stole anything, never did. Well, wait, hang on. Wait a minute. I just realized that's not quite true from the official stance, for the official point of view, because at 7 years old, I played hooky, or I did school 75 days in a row straight and never got caught. I planned it with military precision, and I went to the movies every day, and and I think I got a better education.
Well,
And
what did you watch in those 75 days? What did you see?
everything. There wasn't a movie I didn't see. But the most important thing was my parents socialized me to care about other people. So I was a young community activist at an early age. I was the kid that you would laugh at, who would wait there to take little, as they would say, little old ladies across the street who were blind or deaf or what have you. And that's how I grew up. I always was a volunteer my entire life. And when I turned 16, I became a subsection leader in the Black Panther Party. And it's funny, everybody thinks that of the Black Panthers, they think this is like this super paramilitary organization and we're walking around with guns and things like that. Well, if you had seen my branch of the Black Panther Party, we were walking around with mops and brooms, and we were talking to vendors, and we were very well educated, and we would convince the vendors that it was more intelligent for them to donate the food to us, and we started the Breakfast for Children program that wound up being adopted by schools all across America, even after the FBI said that we were the number one threat in America.
Wow.
So I could go on and on. It would take too long. I've done a lot of stuff. So
No, I think you've touched on some critical parts that have gone through your journey and inspired many people. A lot of stories I don't think people, actually even knew some of the accomplishments that you've made. So giving us that trajectory of your life is critically important. If you think about, again, we do think about succession planning, and we're going to bring Chumba into the conversation. But what are some of the key things you think in your life that resonate with that next generation that you could say, follow this and not that? Or, what's that spark of hope? We're in a time where it's an element of hopelessness, but there's still opportunities for that element of creativity to shape the next generation.
I really think that, and maybe this is just me being super idealistic. I really think that people, for the most part, are good, and and when good people get together, there's almost nothing you can't accomplish. When I was in the Panthers, believe it or not, we were really good people. We were we were nice people. People in the community loved us. They liked us. They liked what we did. The fact that we could feed their children, we clean their offices, we paint their houses, and that was such an important part of my life. And if we fast forward to all of the things that the music industry does when there's some kind of disaster. Well, it's September 11th. I had three friends that were in the first airplane that was crashed into the North Tower. Um, and because I had done so many of these big things, Live Aid and all that sort of thing, I realized that, in our hearts, we were doing the right thing, but you have to be organized. If you're not financially sophisticated and literate, you are not going to get, uh, you're not going to achieve the objectives that you'd like to achieve. And what we did was we are family foundation. It took us a long time to get to where we are, but we tried to do everything right. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be really straight up and honest with you. And if I say anything wrong, you can correct me.
I got you.
But when we started, we started working with young children because we thought that the messages they were seeing in America were just which were horrible. There was nothing positive, and we know that out of everything, you can figure out something positive to do. You can figure out a good way to go forward instead of just being loaded with hate. And when we started the organization, I said to our earliest members, I says, we have to have a 100% success rate. And they looked at me and they were like crazy. And they were like wondering why. And I was thinking about my own life. I was saying, because I'm a black man and we're working with children. If we screw up, whoa, I'm going under the jail. I'm not going to get elected president. It's like I got to do everything right and we have to do everything right. I said that, right? I said
You did.
we had to have a 100% success rate, and and I think that um, that was um, shall I say, the turbocharger in our engine. We had young people that were filled with passion, filled with love, and filled with energy. And I remembered the way that my section was in the Panthers at 16. We were just unstoppable. We didn't believe in the word no, and we were fortunate enough to find people like Chumba. Chumba's not just the only one like this. All of our kids, we got there's some here in our.
We have our youth
Yep,
delegation
yeah,
here
we got.
at World Economic Forum.
And we've just accomplished so many wonderful things, and just even in my crazy little world, um, our accomplishments to us mean everything. We work so hard night and day, and I want to throw it to Chumba because she can give you a really good working example of what we do. I raise the money; she does the hard work.
Yeah, thank you now for putting me on the spot. But no, it's so good to be here. I think personally, I think Inkwell Beach is maybe for me the most important critical space to
Thank
have
you.
here, and
Thank you.
it really does resonate with the work that we're doing at We're Family Foundation, which is about where we are fighting to create this world that is led with love, led with hope, but also we're looking at what are some of those critical elements. And we have, as Niall mentioned, we have our youth delegation here, but we have various programs. So one of them is Youth to the Table, which focuses on bringing young people to critical decision making tables so that young people are part of the conversation. As we know, for me, I'm from Malawi, and for the whole Africa continent, by 2030, our largest population will be youth. And yet we see less and less of that represented when it comes to decision making. we also do funding. So I manage the Youth to the Front Fund, which is a fund that's focused on young people that are centering BIPOC, centering community, centering localized led ideas, ideations in ways that they curate or ways that they basically innovate for their community. And with the Youth to the Front Fund, we're one of the only funds where anyone around the world can apply. When we look at philanthropy, less than 1% of global philanthropy goes to the global south, or the way I like to call it, black and brown countries. And so part of our work is trying to figure out how can we create access. For a lot of the young people that we fund, they come to us and they say, I've been applying to different funds and all I've received are rejections. You're the first fund that has actually funded me. I feel seen. I feel my work. And, it's sad that black and brown people who, especially when we look at the global south, as some of the world's poorest, where there's the most dire need, are the ones that receive the least funding. There were a couple of speakers before, even with venture capital funding, only 1% goes to black founders. For women, it's 0.5% black women. And so there's a lot of work to be done in terms of access for where there's the most need. But it's not also just, some people say it's like a charity thing, but it's not also just a charity thing. There's statistics to show that, investing in where there's the most need, there's the most global benefit for everyone. So a lot of our work is, yes, it is led with love, but also there's that strategy aspect that this is where we need to focus. This is where there's the most need. This is where there's the most focus needed.
I think that's amazing. Are there some key projects, or what are some of the ones that you green light sooner than others? Like, what type of ideas are the young people bringing to you as funding opportunities?
Oh, we get various. There's various intersections, climate, health, food, education. But I think what's most important for us is the aspect of community, where one project that we funded in our first class, they're called the Freedom Community Clinic. They're in San Francisco. And there were a couple of college medical students that they knew that they had the training, and they were looking at their community. This was during the pandemic, at the peak of the pandemic. They were looking at the community that no one was really catering to, the folks on the streets. The folks, they're mostly in Oakland and the Bay Area. They're like, there's not really people coming to help spread information, and our people are dying, but we have the messaging, we have the training. And also what was fascinating about their approach was that, they say that we're in medical school and we're receiving these technical ideas at school, but also they have inherited knowledge so they're looking at ancestral types of healings. They're looking at knowledge that they received from their ancestors, their grandparents, and they said that we want to find a way that we can intersect those two forms of knowledge and move forward in a way that we are curating from both of our worlds. And what's been fascinating about them is that they receive some, people are living institutionalized clinics, hospitals, and going to their spaces where now they have 2 clinics and a farm. They started with us with a grant of $5,000. They've raised over $4 million. They've served over 76,000 people at their 2 clinics. But it's because people say, when people go to their clinic, they feel they see someone like them, someone who understand that, I've been doing this based on what, let's say, my grandmother told me, like, I've been mixing this eucalyptus and this oil and these seeds. And then they're like, oh, yeah, this is what we call this. And medicine, this is that. And what you've been feeling or what you've done so far is this, and this is what you need. And so, there's a benefit to allowing folks who are within the community to lead the work. And for us, it's about how do you center community? How do you lead? And are you part of the community? What is the way that you're ensuring that the idea is as localized, but also at the same time you have a global vision?
So I want to double tap on something you said and just make sure I heard the amount of investment that was made versus the amount of return.
Oh, yeah.
I just need you to fact check me on that. Did you say your organization made a contribution of $5,000, and in return, the group that you invested in has done over
$4
$4
million.
million. I think that deserves like round of applause, shout out. I mean, that's incredible, which is proof that sometimes all you need is a tiny seed that will help you grow. just people need access to opportunities. And I think that's a part of the mission that we do with Inkwell and the Can Diversity Collective is just provide young people with access to opportunities and let them do the rest. That's all I'm responsible for is giving you access so you never have to say, I shoulda, woulda, coulda if I hadda, right? You are providing the opportunities for young people to just be in the game, to develop something that now so many people have access to healthcare, better treatment, all the technology, all these things. So Niles, I'm going to pose the last thing to you because we're going to wrap, but I think it's important to hear your voice in terms of the idea of succession planning and your vision. And then Chumba, is this all you envisioned it to be? Is this?
It's what I envision, and we're just starting, quite frankly. Even though we've been going now for about 2 decades, I feel like we're just starting to really ramp up to the level that I believe that we could achieve. When we first started the organization, we were just, like a lot of other organizations, we were reactionary, right? 9/11 happened. My 3 friends, it was really heartbreaking for me personally, but I knew that the big record business always does the same thing. We have this big, gigantic concert, and we said, we're going to give all this money away, and they do, but after a couple of years go by, you go, hey, where's the money? What happened? Do you see any significant
Return on
change?
investment, yeah. What's the change factor?
Exactly.
Yes.
I learned because the Black Panther Party taught me differently. They made me financially literate. They made me understand that when you are asking a vendor for money, you want to actually try and show them that it's actually better to give it to us because we can figure out a way for your business to do better. And in the old days, I'm 72 years old. So in the old days, in the hood in America, grocers would have accounts with people, with individuals, where they'd give them credit and they'd just do a little receipt and say, we owe you $10. And when the person would get their welfare check, they'd come in and they pay the person off. And when we told these kids that, this gentleman is the man who gave us the food that's feeding your whole school, their parents would be, they'd be very thankful and become dedicated customers. And I think that when we started the organization, I didn't quite know where we were going. So a journalist asked me, what does We Are Family Foundation stand for? What do you want to do? What's your dream? And I just said nervously, I want us to be as big as the song. And I just didn't know what answer. And I didn't really think that was possible. Now I do.
Just plant the seed and that it will do. So I am so excited to have had you here with me today. Thank you so much, Chumba. Thank you so much, Now. Please give them a round of applause. We hope to see you in Cannes.
You will.
We're going to see them in Cannes. And before you guys go, I'd like to bring up, because we're getting ready for lunch, but I'd love to bring up a special guest, Jean-Christophe Rousseau, who has a presentation for us. So come on up with us. A round of applause. And you have a Magnum bottle that you'll share. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Hello, everyone. So I'm Jean-Christophe, JC. I'm a French artist and a specialist of gold leaf. And I made, for today, a special Magnum in 24 karat gold engraved. Special, you have pure gold outside of the bottle. So you can touch. It's really amazing and unique piece, and I'm really happy to be here with you. Thank you to Adrianne, thank you to Inkwell, and thank you to all of you. And it's a special day today, so...
Thank you so much. This is our way that we are celebrating January 20th in 2025 to celebrate Martin Luther King's holiday on this beautiful beach. So we thank you for your support. We thank you, Nile. We thank you, Chumba. Without further ado, lunch is served. And when I tell you the lunch is good here, the lunch is really good. So thank you guys so much. We're going to come back at 1 o'clock to resume our next panel. So eat well. And John, thank you so much.
Thank you.